Truth Frequency Radio Network. K-TFRN. Worldwide.
Hola, this is Sienna inviting you to join me tonight as we navigate through the seen and the unseen, explore external and internal realities, expose on-world and off-world agendas, discover a path to joy and freedom. Now, join me as we illuminate the Shadowland and reclaim our birthright as free and sovereign beings. Good evening, everyone. This is Sienna, and I'm here with Jeff Brown. Jeff's messages of sacred purpose and grounded spirituality are at the heart of his soul-shaping mission, and they have caught fire. He's been interviewed by CNN Radio. He's been connected to ABC Good Morning America. People have really resonated to this extraordinary being. I've invited him here to join us tonight to share as a man who is living his path of inner, deep respect for life and is charting his own course in a very timely way. He is excavating himself from the lies and deception that we're all waking up to. He's doing it with an incredibly humane and treasure map, spreading breadcrumbs for the rest of us to follow through the matrix, beyond the programming. And Jeff's form of freedom I totally resonate with because it comes from a self-stripping down to a naked confrontation with the shadow aspects that bombard us daily and arise within ourselves. And tonight we'll explore how he's inspiring those with ears to hear to break out of the conventions and the constrictions that we all have deeply within us, and to reunite with a great love and respect for life. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jeff.
You're welcome, Sienna. It's a pleasure to be with you.
I have been reading avidly some of Jeff, your incredible prose, and I wanted to start with a little something at the bottom of the email. We're going to jump into some shadow aspects and some more difficult things perhaps to broach, but I wanted to contextualize a broader picture of your understanding of life before we hit the piece about the darker aspects. So, okay. You write, Jeff, when we are young, it's the illusion of perfection that we fall in love with. But as we age, it's the humanness that we fall in love with. The poignant story of overcoming, the depthful vulnerability of aging, the struggles that grew us in karmic stature, the way a soul shaped itself to accommodate its circumstances. With less energy to hold up our armor, we are revealed, and in the revealing, we call out to each other's hearts. Where before wounds turned us off, they are now revealed as proof that God exists. Where we were once saw imperfect scars, now we see evidence of a life fully lived. That is from a new love book that you say is in process. That is so beautiful. And I so appreciate your perspective. I'm just throwing things out, and we can just take this. I would just love to hear your response with what's alive in you now.
Yeah. Well, my dad just passed, so that hearing you reflect that back to me, it takes on a different resonance in a way, even deeper resonance. I've been writing this higher / lower consciousness love story for a while, and I'm into my second draft of the book now, and paragraphs like that were just coming through me, and particularly in the latter part of the book, when the character in the book, the male character, who'd had this great, profound crack open love experience earlier in his life, is now, reflecting back on that experience and transforming in himself and relating to the world differently and opening in his heart differently and living more fully from his heart, where, in the early part of his journey, it was all he could do to open to that love experience. And now he's finding completely to his surprise that he finds that love everywhere. And in the oddest of places, and just the darkest and most, but yet resilient places where humanity resides. And yeah,
It's so important. Now there is so much intensity on the dark side in a lot of ways, in what's being revealed, what's been there all along, the massive whistleblowing, the exposing of the heartless cruelty, that the prison-like conditions that so much of humanity is living within, and just the stressors and the toxicity, and it's so easy to close our hearts right now. And to seek solutions, and we're going to get into this more deeply in a short time, seek solutions in ways that have nothing to do with an open heart at all. And it seems that less and less, I find people up in the northern hemisphere are able to maintain with a kind of vulnerability. They're under such massive attack, and it's an incredibly challenging moment.
It's funny. I don't think we're under any more attack than we've ever been. Actually, yeah. I really don't. In fact, in some ways, I think we're under less of it. But I think, to our credit as a collective, we've evolved to the point developmentally, both as individuals and as a culture, where we can now hold the space for those revealings. So it's actually a positive time. If 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, however we understand the development of a culture, we couldn't hold the space for those realities. Perhaps we were still vibrating too much on a survivalistic level. Perhaps, there's all kinds of reasons for that. But I think that, so much work has been done in very inobvious ways, but very real ways, to get us structurally to the point where we can begin to look and to reveal and to bring these things out in the open that for some reason maybe actually had to not be revealed. Maybe the collective couldn't bear it. Maybe our focus had to be somewhere else as part of the structure building processes. And to me, it's no different than the processes an individual goes through in psycho-emotional terms as they heal and evolve and just go through developmental stages. And, they couldn't hold the space for certain realities when they were younger. Just like when cultures are younger, they can't. And then they reach a stage where they can. So, people are, part of the reason we're gripping and so terrified is because it's being overcharacterized as a negative experience of revealing. When, if you look at it contextually, I think we're actually making beautiful progress.
Oh, that is so refreshing to hear, and it's probably very, very true. It's true. All of this truth is just flying out of the closet.
Well, that means we're ready to face some of the collective shadows. And I have a much more compassionate view of culture and the genderation gap, I call it. Male behavior, the armored masculine. Things I've written about in my blog work. And I don't, as much as we understand that certain things are unacceptable and we have to name them. At the same time, I think it's also important to understand that we're all in this together, and if we're acting out or if we're, not moving from the clearest source spring, there are contextual reasons for that. I mean, this is the human experience down here together, and and I get that it's been polarized, and I get that we have to call out the bad guy, but there's agendas everywhere, and I just try to come back to the belief. And, the universe may prove me wrong, but I have faith in humanity, and I think that it's this revealing the shadow and then integrating the awareness of that and then moving to the next level of clarification and revealing is absolutely a sign of progress. And, wonderful. If this stops, it's probably a sign that something horrible has happened and the entire vibration of the culture has gone back to gripping survivalism, where all we're thinking about is food on the table and we can't think about anything else anymore like it was before. So I think, Maslow was right. There's a hierarchy of needs, and it's culturally true as well. And so I think it's just a real fantastic. I mean, it's anxious. We're crossing a bridge from survivalism to authenticity as a way of being. That we're at the very beginning of the bridge crossing. It's very confusing and anxiety-provoking, and we're trying to move from truth outward, but the culture's set up still structurally with survivalism, and we don't know how to move in the other way, and it's complicated. But it's progressing. That feels really clear to me.
Well, it is really nurturing to hear your words, because it seems that the scream of the doomsdayers is getting louder by the minute.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I listen to some of the real well-known ones, and there's obvious truthfulness. I mean, it's almost so obvious, some of the things they point out. I mean, I know all this stuff. It's of course this is happening. But what's missing from a lot of them is a maturation of an understanding of the context, where human beings have come from, how far back we're coming from, what animalism looked like, what it means to be a civilized human, how much work we've got to do, how many structures have to change, how many levels, how many things we have to download in terms of a more advanced consciousness by learning through experience, by screwing up. I mean, this is... I just see vulnerable humans screwing up to try to figure it out, rather than horrifyingly malicious manipulators always trying to move humans around like chess pieces. It's part of it. I totally get that, but it's just not the whole story, And, I know a lot of conspiracy theorists, and some of them are very solid and clear and grounded about it, and others, to me, are just living out their early life stuff and, authorities, some symbolic, unresolved authority issues from their parents or from society that were legitimately uncomfortable experiences that have now become completely projected onto the man and the system and the government and I think sometimes it just seems ridiculous to me.
It is. So what are we really here to do, Jeff? Where is the place that we can put our awareness, our focus, and our energy? Because a lot of us are awakening, and we really are getting motivated by what is being shown, and we want to make a difference. And
absolutely right. A great question, and it's the ultimate question. Why are we here, and what are we to do with all this life force, right? And for me, I always come back to sacred purpose. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. My whole the feedback that I've gotten from my life experience, the information I've gathered from being on this planet for 50 years in this incarnation, has been really that I have, and I study myself as my only way of understanding this question, that there is some encoded purpose or path that lives within me. I had glimpses of path as a lawyer, and then as a psychotherapy person, and studying humanistic psych, and then as a writer. It was clear to me all the way along. I saw Eddie Greenspan, great Canadian criminal lawyer, on television as an adolescent. He felt deeply familiar to me. I knew I would work with him one day. I announced at 14 I would work with him one day, and of course I did work with him one day. Did a big murder trial in Canada, became a lawyer, was ready to become the next Eddie, the whole trip. And then I saw Ram Dass, and I was like, I know that guy. And then I make a film, and Ram Dass is, it's all in my soul bones. It's all unfolded exactly the way it was written, like soul scriptures. And, and that includes the shadow. That includes the unresolved, not just the sort of glorious calling to write and touch the world, but also the hardcore work of dealing with my unresolved emotional issues, my abandonment wound, the stuff you get away. To me, working that stuff out and the family of origin dynamics related to that are also intrinsic to sacred purpose. Archetypal changes from warrior to healer warrior was part of my innate image or soul scriptures in this lifetime. So if you had everybody on the planet understanding that they're, taking their light out from under the bushel of shame that we're carrying forward as a collective, recognizing that the self is absolutely magnificent, a storehouse of a profound nature. And I'm not talking unhealthily egoic, healthily egoic, right? Not thinking you're all that, but realizing you're really something, right? And then doing the work to excavate your distinct place in this unity consciousness field, the individual droplet of meaning that you, Sienna, are, right, in this unity structure. Then to me, we're all moving in the direction. We're honoring the self. We're exercising the self in the right way. We're moving that energy in the right way. And my experience is when you're on fire with your purpose, the last thing you want to do in the world is hurt anybody. You just want to be left alone to do your thing, And that to me is, that's the answer. For me, that's the whole answer right there, sacred purpose. Yeah.
So I'm pulling some of these incredible quotes from your work. The School of Heart Knocks. Of course, you do all of this word weaving. It's so fantastic. The School of Heart Knocks is an ongoing institution of higher learning. You don't get out until you're God.
That's it. You just keep coming back for more of this madness until you evaporate into essence, and then, I don't know, maybe you become a planet. I'm not really sure what happens then. I'll let you know. I'll pop you an email if I ever get there in one incarnation or another. But, to me, the School of Heart Knocks, that's the grist. This whole, spiritual bypass movement to disconnect the emotional and the spiritual is so paternalistic and so disconnected, and so makes no sense since we're here in human form. And for me, the most expansion I've ever experienced was not through disconnecting from the emotional body, but it was going deep into the emotional body, living right in the heart of the School of Heart Knocks, not leaving my desk until I expanded and grew to the next stage so I could leave the classroom and go to the next grade a year later. That's how it works. And if we keep avoiding the room and the desk, we all know what happens. We come back the next lifetime or a week later with the same lesson, waiting, sitting right there on the desk. Teacher's same, new teacher, right, but same desk. So, I think really the answer is just to surrender to the reality that we're here to learn through some challenges and just get on with it. And stop blaming everybody else. Just get on with it. Do your work. Just get on with it.
Well, it's fairly unusual to hear a man talk in this way. I don't mean that there aren't other men that are trying to integrate and open up to their feelings, but this is a huge quantum giant step.
Right.
And how did this happen to you?
I don't know. No, don't. Let's not go there. That's a whole other fucking thing. But okay. I'm writing this love story, and I mean, something's happened to me. Like and then I'm writing my model of spirituality book. These are my main two books that I want to write, and that book. And I'm realizing, really, it's almost like it's a more integral view, but it's more emotionally centered than, say, Wilber's integral work in many ways. Really, it's a more feminine framework. It's a more relational framework. It's about expansion in a horizontal way rather than a vertical way. You got to go down to go up, ascending with both feet on the ground. A soul, S-O-L-E, the soul philosophy, right? So, it's enheartened, it's enrealed, it's embodied. I don't have the audacity to say that God made a mistake by putting me in human form. I can't tell you how many of these non-dualists that I've listened to who basically their idea of non-separateness and unity consciousness conveniently removes the heart, the emotional body, the healthy ego, the personal identifications, the physical body from the spiritual equation. Let's talk about, they just want to sit back and witness their pain body and call that a spiritual experience. Really, it's just self-avoidance masquerading as enlightenment. I mean, you've got to be here for all of it to call this a spiritual experience. So, that's it, right there.
Hallelujah! But that is gigantic, and I hope people recognize the difference.
I think it is. I'm starting to think that there's something in this that's, because I look around and I don't read it. I'm starting to feel like there's something coming through this, and coming through me as a matter of model that is it's a whole other framework of perception or something. And all I'm trying to do is figure out the language for it, right? Because I mean, you have to communicate it somehow, and I think some of those those terms, radio's helped me. Like I wrote Soulshaping, and I was learning how to write, and I was starting to channel some new words and truth aches and enrealment and all that stuff, but I wasn't like frameworking it. I was trying to find a framework, but I've done so much radio and written so much on Facebook, which is a wonderful forum for me, and now I feel like there's a model coming through it, and I think we need one. We need some model. I mean, Buddhism, it's fantastic to detach when you need to detach, but detachment is just a tool. It's not a life, right?
Totally.
So then what? Okay, so now I know how to get away from this madness, pull away and see it for what it is, and realize I'm not that small little neurotic nervous thing in the coffee shop. But then I've got to, at some point, come back down into my body and deal with what lives inside of me. And so how do you deal with what lives inside of you? That we don't really have a framework that weaves all of this together. I call it Western consciousness now, right? So it's like to find that point where the quest for unity consciousness, so you've got that Eastern wisdom, the quest for unity, all oneness, and then the Western wisdom, and the healthy self-concept, the strong sense of self, the boundaried self, the purposeful self. And then you find that point where they merge, where you're not so far into unity that you're basically disconnected from the self and unboundaried, where you're not so far into the self that you're a narcissistic North American, right?
Right.
But where you're holding it, you're right at that point that exactly you're aware of your connection to the unified field, but at the same time completely in your individual power related to sacred purpose. And to me, that's the exact point that we all need to find.
And it's so refreshing to hear that you are swimming in it, embodying it, bringing it in, and you know that you don't know, but you know that you do know. I mean, that's a very brave stance to take, because we always want something like, oh, nice little thing, and this guy, give me the outline, let's work this program. But it's not going to come that way now. We've had to throw everything out the window or into the pot, and you're birthing a completely, it's a new creation with all the old creations as the broth, as the mixture, and that's very brave. It's very courageous.
It's the mystery stew. It is the mystery stew, and it is. I don't see the throwing out of the window, right? Again, you adjusted that, and I think that it's right, that adjustment, because it's inclusive. It's not that the Buddhist framework of detachment, which is a good thing to talk about in terms of this. It's not like that's not true. There is a place for detachment. There is a place for selective attachment. There is a place for not grasping so hard and allowing yourself to surrender to the moment. But then there's also a place for immersion, the Sufi way, jumping into it, dancing into it, spinning into it, right? Really in it. The only way to it is through it, all of that. And so that there's a wisdom to that. And that's part of the human framework, and it belongs there. It's not to be discarded. There's a place for it. And then to try to find the weave, right, which is how do you bring all of it together. And not the way Wilbur did, honoring his brilliance as an integrator, absolutely, but not in a way that's so vertical. I mean, the feminists have been after him for years about this. And
I have such a hard time listening to him, and yet I adored that he's mapped out all the spirals.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's a head tripper. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't disagree with that. It's the meditator framework. It's not the enheartened feminine.
No, it's not.
Relational framework. It's not the my experience, which was that as high as I went, as a lone wolf meditation warrior on the cushion. It was not in terms of the universes that I've met and explored and the portals that opened through the relational love and intimacy experience. And I'm not even talking about sex. We can talk about that, but I'm just talking about just through the vibratory field of connection between me and a true loved one. And for me, really, I went places so far beyond what those dudes where they're going on those cushions, or where Eckhart's going when he's like talking about the now in a detached framework. To me, that is so head trippy universe there's, to me, I have just found so many more places to go inside of my heart, and so we need a model that really honors and so my honoring of the divine feminine, it's, part of it evolved through broken-hearted love experience that I wrote about in Soulshaping, and honoring of my grandmother and all these things, but really it came through my own journey in my heart, and my heart as the gate opener to a more truly deepened and expanded consciousness, horizontal, vertical, in all directions, and rather than just, thinking that holding that head trippy unity, awareness of how everything's connected, that's the whole trip, that's the heights of it, that's the great guru Maharaji that you bow to because he's been there. He ain't been nowhere until he's done it relationally, as far as I'm concerned. That's just the beginning. It's just like the tip of the soulberg, right? There's a whole lot more.
Amen. Well, it is flabbergastingly incredible. I have actually a panorama of emotions that a man is coming up with this clarity, but it is, and there you are, and you're articulating it and bringing it forward, and bless you. We'll be right back with the second half hour with our guest, Jeff Brown. Stay with us. Hello, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Jeff Brown. His website is soulshaping.com. Is that the best way for people to reach you, Jeff?
Yeah, they're on Facebook. There's a whole bunch but all the Facebook links are on the upper right of the Soulshaping website.
Soulshaping.com. Okay, I wanted to actually read this, Drinking from an Empty Glass, a note to a dear dark friend, and jump off from here because I just think it's really to the point. Is that going to work for you?
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. This is written by Jeff. Yes, I know the government is corrupt. Yes, I know there are people conspiring. Yes, I know people can lack integrity. Yes, I know that Western culture is mystic. Yes, I know that corporations are self-serving. Yes, I know that the media is manipulative. I share many of your concerns, and I also know that we cannot change the world without acknowledging what is wrong. I know that we must stand against that which shames, oppresses, and damages humanity. I know that we should not ignore the injustices and put a fake smile. I know that we must find our voice and stand our ground. I know that we must fight for our right to the light. I believe deeply in forward-moving criticism, but something doesn't feel quite right. You complain all the time. You have made negativity a full-time job. You don't make an effort to find solutions. You blame everything on the world out there. You don't actually do anything positive to affect change. And you seldom acknowledge the positive steps humanity has made. You seldom acknowledge the beauty around you. You almost never see the light in the darkness. I know something from my lived experience. I know that the light is always there. It is there. It is the breath that keeps you alive, in the smile of a child, in the one more chance to find your path. It is there, in the rise of the feminine, in the therapeutic revolution, in the burgeoning quest for authenticity. If you can't see it, then the issue is a personal one, for there are signs of progress everywhere. And I also know from a lifetime of overcoming that it is possible to hold it all at once, to fight against injustice while still embodying the light, to see where we are lacking while rejoicing in our abundance, to express our anger and to live our gratitude, to feel overwhelmed by an unfair world while still achieving our goals, to admit how far we have yet to travel while applauding how far we have come. And so I wonder, what lives below your perpetual negativity? And these are the questions we can maybe look at in this last half hour. Apart from the problems in the world, what happened that darkened your lens? What made the glass so empty? Is it really all about the world out there? Or are there also unresolved personal experiences that need to be healed? What are you really trying to express about the lack of love, attention, and satisfaction in your life? What is your deeper complaint? What lives below this victimhood? What needs to be expressed and resolved so that you will see some light shining through again? Please don't wait until the world is perfect, for it will never be so. And dear friend, how can I help you believe again? So beautiful, Jeff. And so what is the process that we engage in to move out of seeing the world through a darkened lens?
I think it's a personal process, and if we keep projecting it outward into society, we're never going to. The list is endless of things we can find. I can list for you hundreds of places where society needs to change that no one's even talking about yet, right? I mean, if we compare society and individual functioning right now to my vision of wholeness, for example, culturally and individually, we got a million miles to go on every level, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? I'm going to spend my entire life in that? I mean, I recognize you either believe that cultures progress or you don't. And if you really don't, then you have a problem, right? Because I do, because I have some faith in humanity that we're making progress and that we're going to get there. I really do. And I've somehow been able to let go of the almost narcissistic idea that I'm going to do it all, or that we're going to do it all now, and can just nestle into my moment, my incarnation experience, where I do my best to contribute, and I do my best to do no harm, but also understand that it takes a long time for worlds to change, and to look for the signs of progress in the most subtle places. And, that helps me. And really what mostly helps me is to come back and do the progressive work internally so that I continue to excavate my hiding places, my emotional obstructions, clear my debris, resolve what I can resolve, in the middle of a life and overstimulation, and not all of it in one night, and not all of it in, sitting in the therapist's office and saying, can we do this all in 4 sessions? I mean, understanding this is a lifelong journey. And as I continue to thaw out, and as I continue to clear the darkness from my early life experiences, which were a reflection of the stage of the collective, my father wasn't that different from everyone else's father and all that. I find that I see a lot more light outside of me, and then that light starts to reflect back, create more space inside of me, and it goes like that. And it's not like I disagree with so many things a conspiracy theorist would say, or at least a grounded gadfly would say. I think I'd agree with everything, but I nestle it into a different context, and the individual work really helps me to do that.
Well, it's so important as well,
and
because
you can actually get something done. I mean, right?
Yeah, exactly, because I have been in so many
A lot of them aren't getting
meetings.
anything done. I mean, screaming about. Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying the same thing. You get all of these super brain genius, think tank, futuristic paradigm shifters, and they're all screwed up because they haven't done the inner work. They can't make a new world, even though in their minds they can see it and talk about it all day long.
No. I saw like one of these characters on something the other day, and he was yelling and screaming and all these things. And, I was just trying to pull myself back from my own reaction to his intensity and just hear what he had to say. And almost everything he had to say I thought was true. But because he was coming, in my resonance at least, my sense of it, from his own unresolved early life anger and all whatever he's projecting outward onto the man and the government and nobody's going to be moved. Nobody is going to be moved to genuine, thoughtful, heartfelt action by his position because the vibration of it is narcissistic.
Exactly.
It's not coming from a healthy, work-through person. His agenda is no more noble than the agendas of those he's criticizing, in my opinion.
It's the same energy. It's the same energy.
Nothing's different. It's just, look at me, I'm the great prophet, follow my words. And where is he going to lead us? Probably in a way worse direction. They'll create a city or a village or society based on really ridiculous premises, and they'll all end up just destroying each other. So, I like to believe, call me crazy, that even here in Western culture, we've made fantastic progress. The rights of the feminine in North American culture, rule of law in many ways is much more subtle and much more human rights protective, and I just don't expect that to happen in 20 or 50 years. So for me, when I see some kind of a shift, I think it's huge because I don't have an unrealistic expectation of change. And I can feel compassionate towards even sometimes those agenda-ridden individuals that are acting out from the wrong place. That doesn't mean you don't stand them down. That doesn't mean you don't call them out. But I also understand the survivalistic structure we come from, where you're basically defining who you are by what puts food on the table and what honors the unhealthy ego in a competitive framework, makes people do crazy things, and we weren't trained to think about other people. Many of us weren't trained in that framework to really honor the other, to, get into conscious capitalism as the way of being. But it's just had nothing to do with it. When I was trying to survive as a student, I was just trying to survive. It wasn't with conscious capitalism. I wanted food on the table, for God's sakes, and that's where we come from. So we need to be a little more. I just don't see a guy on the left side of the room and a guy on the right side of the room screaming at each other. As it's not going to help anything. What's going to help is for the guy on the left to be heard, and for him to also fully hear the experience of the guy on the right. So there's real context. I wrote this piece called "The Apologies to the Divine Feminine," and it was met with an immediately viral response. It continues to reverberate, and I believe that why that happened was not simply because the masculine was apologizing, because that has to happen, but because in that piece I contextualized the masculine. Women that just didn't want to blame the dude. They wanted to understand him, and because he couldn't speak for himself, I tried to speak for him, right? And as a result, they walk away from it going, okay, not only are you saying you're sorry, but you're helping me to understand where you were moving from. What was influencing your behavior? What were the sociological factors? And I think we need to do that in all realms of society, so that we actually understand. You want to get rid of separations between individuals. You want to create a real unified field. Let everybody self-reveal, so that we all realize that we're all just in it together, and that the dude in the car who just cut you off is not a torpedo that's going to kill you, but that there's a guy driving you who's stressed out and worried just because you're just like you were last Friday, right? And then we're going to get somewhere.
This is the whole thing. And we won't get anywhere until we get there. And no matter how great, we could have $1 million, millions of dollars given us to create a new world, and just go try to find 5 people who can really get along and create a new world. If you have not taken that journey, it can't happen.
No, they don't understand. Absolutely. They're just, mostly people are just operating on their unconscious patterns. That's survivalism. Authenticity as a framework, defining who we are not by what puts food on the table. I am accountant, I am lawyer, I am, salesman, but defining who we are by, say, sacred purpose. Why am I here? It's so much more elevating and honoring, self-honoring. I came in with purpose. It could be a humble purpose. I could have come in to learn how to be a better listener, but I'm going to do it well, right? You got everyone on that track. Where and career and occupation is oriented around authenticity instead of survivalism, everything changes. And then, then we're hearing each other, then we're honoring each other, then we're listening to each other, and we craft our society and our structures and our economic structure around those things. Not in a way that destroys the systems and we flee to the hills and think we're going to create a better society and then we're going to do it bad just like everyone else. But really that builds on the foundations of the forefathers and the ancestors and the grandmothers, the things that have been created that are serving us, right? The very fact that they can stand up on their platform and scream at the system, and this is the joke of it, is that because people who played the game before them in society built the foundation that they're standing on. They don't even realize that. You wouldn't even have a forum if we weren't far enough away from the basic needs vibration that somebody could actually let go of worrying about food on the table enough to criticize a system. They can only do that because America built the system and the foundation by parents going to work, paying the house, building the structures, building a society, so that now everybody can look back and go, "Oy, that was garbage. Oh, you're a bunch of hustlers. Oh, you all have agendas." So we can now unfold to the next direction in society. It's a beautiful thing. But they're too self-centered and absorbed in their stuff to realize that they're actually standing on the heads of the structures that they're criticizing.
Wow. Amen. That is such a huge wake-up call right there. Well, yeah,
Think about it. When I was 18 years old, struggling, going to school, coming from this crazy family, whatever, yeah, I knew society was crazy, but I couldn't go out and do this or write this stuff or do all these things. I had to build structures. I had to build my ego. I had to prove I had efficacy. I could make things happen in the world. I had to feel I had to have a house for 20 years. I needed those things because my parents and none of them had built that. I was the one to do that. So I had to build what they didn't build in order for me now to go to the point where I can look at what was wrong with it, right? In the middle of it, I had to do it. I had to feed myself. I had to build my structures. I had to nurture my development. And so, it's like honor, it's this whole tear it all apart thing. That really is individual unresolved material, in my opinion. It's not mature. It's not grounded in reality. It has no understanding, inclusive understanding of how things have developed in a system and in a family and in society. And, I think we have to have that mature understanding of all of it and then move, then respond and react and criticize from that place. And then there's then the resonance changes and then people actually listen to you. Preaching to the choir, a bunch of, inflamed conspiracy theorists screaming and yelling to 5 million other people who are in the same stuff, it's not really going to change anything. As people criticize me often, they go, "I can't believe you're an activist. You're an activist. Why did you wrote inspirations for Good Morning America? It's so mainstream. You're such a sellout." I go, "What are you talking about? Who the hell needs more help than the mainstream? For God's sake, what are you people talking about?" It's like, you don't change the mainstream. You're not going to change anything. You got to get in the heart of it and work with people where they live. Stop hating them, for God's sakes.
wow.
Come
Amen,
on.
brother. Yes.
It's so immature. It's so silly. You go blow up CNN. Where's that going to get you? CNN's there for a reason. Just get inside there and try to change CNN. Make the media more conscious. Get to work, but screaming and yelling and protesting. Sorry, sometimes that's part of it, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, I think. Really. If I could, when Good Morning America wrote me and emailed me and said, "Hey, you want to write some inspirations for us?" I thought, this is fantastic. I had a great relationship with the dude there, Father Beck. He was fantastic. They never edited me, and I have all my new language in those inspirations, in Realment and Truth Aches and all this stuff. They just posted them. And I thought, wow. Would that have happened 15 years ago in Good Morning America? No way. That stuff would have gotten to the people not just through them, through any of those mainstream media outlets. So something's happened. Why don't we just honor that something's happened? Instead of pointing out what's wrong with the structures, something's shifting, and it's a nice shift. It's a good shift. Let's go have a party because there's been a positive shift. Good Morning America's publishing in Realment literature. Wow.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So there are
Just spend a day being positive. Give it a day. Give 1 day a week. See how it feels, you know. You don't have to go 7 days. Just go one. If you can't do one, go see a therapist. You got work to do. If you can't find one good day a week. If you can't find one good thing out there, then it's not about the man and it's not about the society. It's about the individual progress. It's about the personal work, you know. It really
wow.
is.
That is,
I used to drink from an empty glass. I was 22. I saw everything was dark. And it was like, oh, God. I mean, I was just going to shoot myself. Well, what good was that? I wasn't going to do anything good with that.
yeah, yeah.
So self-perpetuating. So self-perpetuating. Oh, my God.
So what kind of a reaction, what's going on with your life right now with all of this? Is your group, your soul pod expanding?
Yeah. The pages and groups, and no, the support's really. It is, but in a very organic, grassroots way. I don't hype it. I don't do all that hyping, Americana hyping, marketing. I post some links and things, but I'm just, I had developed a window business. That's how I put myself through school, and it was always door knocking, door to door, selling windows face to face. And so Facebook is perfect because it's face to face, and I built so many thousands of relationships, varying levels and degrees. And to me, it's just through being genuine, enrealment, enheartenment, connectiveness, and I've always been a grassroots person, and I think that's the way. You just keep supporting each other. And my dad just passed, and I posted some things on Facebook and had hundreds of people write me and comment. I mean, I felt so supported and so pulled out of my isolation. When I was feeling really isolated in this, I just go on there and read them, and then the naysayers will talk about the horrors of Facebook and their government's reading. Well, that's fine. Let them read it, and there are some horrors, but I've had such a beautiful relational experience there. I just have nothing but good things to say about it, actually.
Well, that's really inspiring for people because this is something that anybody can do. Start to be authentic, speak your truth, reach out to other people, care, stop the judgment, and the blame, and the shame, and the limitations, and allow your world to expand. It sounds like
look at yourself, Sienna. It's like this is what it is to me. I've always been more interested in where perspectives come from than the perspective itself, right? So if I had a negative lens, I was always interested in where does that come from? Is there something in my emotional life that's getting projected onto that perspective? What's funneling through to create that? I mean, I'm more psychologically oriented, right? I want to know the source, and I think we could use more of that so the person has a perspective, but spend some time piecing out where it's emanating from. Because then many of us have had this experience. Then you do all this emotional clearing, you have a good cry, and the whole world looks different, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. If you do the release, the world looks different. Suddenly things don't look so bad. Suddenly you notice something. Suddenly you notice the butterfly. Suddenly somebody notices your resonance changed, and they come up and talk to you because you don't feel scary and negative all the time.
Yeah.
Suddenly you look around and you go, wow, look, that cop just helped that person across the street. He didn't shoot her. It's like everything looks different. So, you got to keep coming back to the individual work. I mean, how are we going to change society if we don't do it that way?
So we become the solution. We embody the solution. It can be grassroots. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be some mega fame trip or
No.
Even though yours has been in some ways. But if that's part of your destiny, then it happens. But you don't
That's it. But it's no better. But it's no better destiny than anyone else's. I mean, that's what you get. You get that we really have our individual droplet of meaning. So someone may come in here with a very humble and quiet message, or they're here to develop the capacity to live in more silence, to be more present-centered, to be a better listener, to feed the birds. Whatever makes you feel true to path, at peace with path, is the path. And you're not harming anybody, then it's fine. And mine happens to be a noisier path. I resisted it, and now I don't resist it, and I will resist it again. But to each their path. You don't know whose path is harder than anyone else's. My dad grew up with so much trauma was all he could do to manage reality and get through the day. That was way more courageous than my path. I have way more freed up energy to do what I'm doing than he had even to manage reality. So, you just come back to, and maybe for him that's why he was here. He was here to have to work through a little bit of it, and then come back in the next lifetime ready to go a little farther.
And to hold a space for you to be.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And his call to write, which was never able to be manifest in a more societal sense, now completely lives in me. I mean, it's I know that I write for him too, and I just wrote a blog about that on my website, and I know it's true. And so that's a positive way. I can look at all the negative things that happened with him, but that's a positive carry forward. And if you want to see the negative and honor that, fight against it, and do all that, there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said in the second last paragraph in the piece you read. But why not also hold the light at the same time? Why can't both be true?
Well, yeah, let those words resound through the collective tonight, and embrace your Father Spirit as he ascends and moves on with the glorious sun that has taken such a quantum leap in a perception that can help so many. So bless your Father. Send him lots of love. We can all take a minute to do that and help him lift off. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. We just have a couple minutes left. How can people interact with you then, Jeff, if they would like to do so?
Well, there's an email list on Soulshaping. I send out newsletters sometimes. I'll do more of that when these books are written and finished, and I'll move it more out into the world in teaching function. And Facebook's great. There's a Jeff Brown fan page. My personal page is very actively followed, and I have a Soulshaping book group there, International Year of the Woman book group. We're starting a Love It Forward movement, loveitforward.net, where we're going to sell my quotes book that you have on a grassroots level through homeless, economically challenged people and affiliate links, so people who are economically challenged can reintegrate with society and bring good products to the world. And so we're trying to create a more conscious capitalistic structure, and that website should be up. It's up. Loveitforward.net is up, but the system won't be active for a few more weeks. We have one more piece to put in place. So that's a wonderful place for people to go who don't like the way the world is, but would like to play with at least the possibility of a new framework of relating. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So you can find all those links, though, just by going to your website?
Yeah, I mean, loveitforward.net is not linked off the site, but the Love It Forward fan page that we've started and we're going to get active soon is linked off the website. Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. That's beautiful. Wow, this has just been so, I just feel this incredible peace and beautiful energy just having shared this time with you. Just want to thank you so much for who you are, and that you are continuing to make the effort to communicate it to everyone. It sounds like it's becoming more and more fun, but I know it's not a blast on every day of the week.
No. Absolutely. Sacred purpose is not about being joyous every day. It's about having some peace with path. That's perfect.
Peace with paths. Bless you. Bless your Father. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody. Check soulshaping.com out, please.